weirdly, I had a dream probably about 2 years ago. It wasn't 2 years ago. I'm sorry. It was a year ago.
Mhm,
It was all black in my dream, and they said God is light.
mhm,
He came to me as a ball of light, and he said, "Don't worry, I'll be with you."
mm.
Bro, my mouth dropped. I swear, it'll give me chills now.
Wow.
My mouth dropped, and I could feel a tear run down my face.
Yeah.
And that was the first time in my life I had ever been at a loss of words.
Wow.
Like I literally, in the dream, I mean,
Yeah.
you have a little bit of conscience, but I
Mhm.
tried to speak and I couldn't speak.
Wow.
And bro, after that, this whole last year has been the craziest roller coaster.
Welcome back to Turn on the Lamp podcast. It's your host, Devin Lamp. I have a special guest today in the building. Actually, I'm in his building. We in his setup, as you can see in the backdrop, and I'm super excited to introduce him. He's a man that I would just say, first starting off, man, I just want to acknowledge how humble he is as a person, just the amount of people that he's poured back into. And I'm super excited for him to come on this show and share his testimony. So I introduce Mr. Trevis Gipson.
Man, I appreciate you having
Yes,
me
sir.
on, bro.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it a lot.
For
Appreciate
sure.
it a lot.
So we'll get into, as you can see, obviously, all the work accolades that he has. But first, I just want to start off with your most important identity, man, talking about your faith in Jesus Christ. So talk to us about a little bit about how you came to know Jesus and ultimately how you grew in the faith.
Man, so ever since I was young, family always instilled religion in me, Christianity,
Mhm,
follow God, trust in Jesus,
mhm,
Lord or Savior, do everything that you're supposed to do, the right way, even when people aren't looking, because He's always looking. So I always carried that throughout my life. And, to today, man, He's carried me so far. It's almost undeniable, it's something that our relationship, is very special to me. I turned to I fully turned to him and got baptized actually when I went to Tulsa. My
mhm,
sophomore year, I got baptized at Transformation Church with Pastor Mike Todd. So that was
mhm.
pretty monumental for me. But before then, it was hard to have vision. It was a lot of things were unclear. But once I made that decision, it was like mud turned into water. I could see through everything.
Yeah, and I really like what you talked about, like the relationship that you have with Christ. A lot of people they think Christianity is just like attending church and speaking in tongues and all that, which is cool. Obviously, you want to go to church, but like you said, the pivotal point of why Jesus died for us is for us to have a relationship with the Father. So, what does that specific relationship look like? I know you're busy, like in the NFL day to day life. Like, what does that spending time with God look like in your
Man, it's a daily thing. It's so easy to fall into the traps, especially with the profession that I'm in. But,
life?
I realized that not only I wouldn't be here today without him, but he wouldn't have carried me this far, especially from a career standpoint,
Mhm.
if he wasn't with me.
Yeah.
So that's big to me. And throughout my football career I've had ups and downs. At sometimes I was discouraged. At sometimes I was, scared, didn't fully lean into my faith. But those moments, I feel like I came out of them pretty quick.
Hmm.
I knew who to turn to. I knew that He would be there. It was 1,000%, all knowing that I didn't have anything to worry about and that He
Hmm.
would eventually take care of me
Hmm.
and the things that I asked for, as long as, I did my part. And, I kept the relationship. I kept seeking and searching for Him throughout my career. And I think that was a big thing for me.
Yeah, and I love the part where you talk about like God's sovereignty of Him carrying you the way, but also doing your part, the human responsibility part. So talk. I want to kind of start on Trevis as a kid, right? So in your household, who was your biggest like role model that you looked up to, and how did they instill those specific qualities like hard work and determination in you?
I think it would be my parents, really, my immediate family, man.
Mhm.
My mom, dad, older brother. That's all we really did growing up was be disciplined, show structure. I saw my mom work multiple jobs. I saw her find a way, make a way,
Mm-hmm.
resilient, very resilient. From my brother, he's a basketball player. So growing up, I looked up to him a lot. He's playing overseas basketball now, year 10. So,
Mm-hmm.
even that with my dad, he was taking me to work out as young as fifth grade, fourth grade, just showing me this is how you do it. If this is how, or if this is what you want, this is how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, just them installing those characteristics into me and me being able to be the youngest and soak it all up and implement that into my career, but also, carry my religion with me,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I think has carried me this far.
So let's be real. Like the whole journey, is grand from an external point of view, like looking at, and still the hard work, but not a lot of people talk about what exactly that looks like, right? So talk about like the struggles that you had, while you're working at your craft. You believe this dream that God's placed in you. Talk about the valleys part of it, like the low points, because I think that's not talked about enough.
No, it's not. So, like I said, coming out of high school, I only had one Division One offer. To me that was a valley
Mm-hmm.
because I went to the University of Tulsa. Nobody had been drafted there in 20 years. I was blessed and fortunate enough to get a Division One scholarship,
Mm-hmm.
but generally speaking, Tulsa isn't a football school. So, that was one sort of hurdle that I had to sort of get over and figure out how was I going to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, but
Mm-hmm.
through a scenario that I necessarily, I guess at the moment didn't have faith in. And,
Mm-hmm.
that's where my relationship with God came in, and
Mm-hmm.
that took a big part of it. It was times at Tulsa the first 3 years I didn't really play. Defense. The first year I redshirted. The following 2 years I was on special teams, but I didn't play significantly on defense. And to me that was new.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew also the given circumstances, but that was okay, when is this gonna crack open? When am I gonna be able to play? When am I gonna be able to show all the hard work that I
Mm-hmm.
put into to be able to show the world and to be able to show the world, like I said, that I can perform.
Absolutely.
So a couple more hurdles. I got into the NFL. I played significantly, a good amount my first 3 years, and then the last 2 years, I would say was a hurdle. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
play that much. I've had the stressors of trying to save my family, trying to save my generation. Uh, the devil will try to come in and, hey, did you come this far just to not, what I'm saying, and
Mm-hmm.
accomplish everything that I dreamed of?
Yeah.
But even now, I'm walking in this season, with my faith and testimony and my belief in God, and that's what's been carrying me. So, I don't think the obstacles have stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Truth be told, yeah, my profession has been able to relieve me of a couple, life
Mm-hmm.
stressors, but for the most part, it's still a everyday battle, man. And
Mm-hmm.
every time my feet touch the ground, I got to put on that armor and
Yeah.
sword, and go out there and fight.
So you coming into a landscape like the NFL, it's from the outside, people like glorify, particular players that are, successful or at the top of their game. So you going into an environment like that where it could be for most overwhelming. Who were some of the guys, or I would say like older mentors? How did they take you under their wing and kind of show you like the way around to navigate in the NFL?
So luckily, I was drafted to Chicago Bears,
Mm-hmm.
and my vets in the room were Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn. Those were my main two vets, and they handle things from strictly business perspective. They come in, have their meals, their routine for sure. Hot tub, cold tub, whatever the case is, actually lifting weights.
Mm-hmm.
Not doing things just to get by, and I sort of soaked that in. But I also saw the way that they carried themselves as men. They were respectful. They didn't, joke around much. I wouldn't say, I mean, they joked around, but,
Mm-hmm.
they took things serious
Mm-hmm.
because you only get one life. You
Yeah.
know that. So that was a big thing for them. And I just sort of soaked that in and took what I could from them and applied it to my game. And, luckily, it's lasted me this long.
So what would your advice be to a younger guy maybe coming out of high school, coming out of college, where the NIL is like a huge topic, right? They're getting paid at a earlier rate than we ever, could have fathomed when we were getting recruited. But talk about the importance, like you said, just staying true to yourself and not letting the money get in the way.
Man, this was again, these are all things that I still deal with to today.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily overcame, but you don't want to make your identity through money.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna be able to leave, or we're not gonna be able to take any money with us when we leave this earth. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was more enjoying the moment. In college, I would say to those guys, enjoy playing college football. One day it's not going to be there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I do play in the NFL, if I had a preference, regardless of the financial, I enjoyed college more.
Mm-hmm.
I had closer brothers, closer friends. It was, a different type of situation that I could never, recreate. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was, or for what I would tell them is to enjoy the moment. Yes, in college now you can make money and it can give you a nice head start in life. But also, what I've learned through my journey is that if you're not prepared to be able to carry that money and be able to carry the responsibilities of what comes with it and the temptations and the traps and the hurdles that's laid before
Mm-hmm.
you, then it's almost inevitable to fail. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you're gonna do it, then it's not just football that you have to do. It's not just taking care of your money you have to do. It's more. There's a lot of things off the field that you have to
Mm-hmm.
do also.
This off season, I know as hard as you train, you've been making it a focal point to pour back into the community. Richardson High School, we had the privilege of having you come out and speak to the D line, the younger guys, and I could just see how inspired they were after that conversation. Talk about why that's so important to you to pour back into the next generation.
Man, for me it was, what can I do off the field?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I wasn't playing that much these last 2 years. I had to really look myself in the mirror and say, okay, how else can I maximize this platform to accomplish the goal that it is that God had for me? Or, not even from a career projection standpoint, but more from what it is that He needs me to do while I'm here on this earth.
Mm-hmm.
And He blessed me with this platform, so I said, okay, I'm gonna go back this off season. I'm gonna talk to as many schools as possible because I know what I can do, and it can, help the younger generation.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to go and share my faith. I try to go and share my testimony, and just encourage them. But that
Mm-hmm.
was one area that I felt like, between that and donations that I could really capitalize on that I haven't in the past.
Mm-hmm.
God giving me the funds that I have, it was almost I was being scarce. I was didn't want to spend much. I was real hesitant. I don't know how long this is gonna last. I was worried. That
Mm-hmm.
was nothing but the devil getting in my head. But then I
Mm-hmm.
had to realize that no, God put me in this position for a reason. I do need to go out and talk. I'm not too busy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the things that you care for, you make time for.
Absolutely. A big part of the Christian walk is to realize, like Jesus said, in this life you will have suffering, right? And the Bible talks about everything working together for the good of those who are loved according to His purpose. So, like you said, like if you wouldn't have had those challenging moments throughout your career, throughout your life, you wouldn't have a testimony to tell back into the younger kids. And now you sharing not only your mountaintops but also your valleys allows them to relate because they may be in that same position. They may have gone through the same stuff as you have. So how important is it, through your suffering, through the way that you may have visioned your career going, God obviously had different plans in different checkpoints. Why is it important to submit your dream to God and allow Him to steer the wheel?
Man, it's very important because, as I said, I wouldn't have got to where I am today without him. And I really had to acknowledge that.
Mm-hmm.
It was a point in time, truth be told, in my career that, I did question my faith. And
Mm-hmm.
that, I could feel it inside of me that that was a turning point,
Mm-hmm.
where, okay, I'm about to go through something serious and it's going to be nothing but me and him. And,
Mm-hmm.
I saw the whole thing shape right in front of me. So, you know, um, knowing that God has never let me down, looking back in history, seeing how many things happened the right way for me to be here, how many things did not happen,
Mm-hmm.
for me to still be here. You know how
Mm-hmm.
injuries are and
Yeah.
everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
I really had to look at the track record and everything that, like I said or mentioned earlier, that he carried me through. And that gave me ultimately nothing but 1,000% even more faith because
Mm-hmm.
I know that he wouldn't let me down. So
Mm-hmm.
I had to turn to him, again, just being transparent, man. These last 2 to 3 years, it was probably the toughest times of my life. It was very challenging, but I still hit my feet on the ground. I say my prayers. I fight the hurdles and the traumas and everything. But at the end of the day, I know he's gonna carry me through this.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly, I had a dream probably about 2 years ago. It wasn't 2 years ago. I'm sorry. It was a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was all black in my dream, and they said God is light.
Mm-hmm.
This is no lie, bro. Obviously, I wouldn't lie. He came to me as a ball of light, and he said, "Don't worry, I'll be with you."
Mm.
Bro, my mouth dropped. I swear, it'll give me chills now.
Wow.
My mouth dropped, and I could feel a tear run down my face.
Yeah.
And that was the first time in my life I had ever been at a loss of words.
Wow.
Like I literally, in the dream, I mean,
Yeah.
you have a little bit of conscience, but I
Mm-hmm.
tried to speak and I couldn't speak.
Wow.
And bro, after that, this whole last year has been the craziest roller coaster.
Man.
And it's like, I already know it's just, the devil he's trying to do his job,
Yeah.
and that's what gives me faith that, I am going to come out of this. It is something bigger in store. It's a
Mm-hmm.
bigger, I believe right now it's a spiritual warfare,
Mm-hmm.
going around. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaning more into that. And, just for him to tell me like, hey, I'm gonna be with you.
Yeah.
And then me go through this last season of, going from Florida, moving my family and my pregnant wife all the way up to Seattle,
Mm-hmm.
about 2 months before she had the kid. Um, doing all that, man, and just going up there, barely playing, barely any sun in Seattle. I'm just being honest with
Yeah.
you.
Rain all the time,
Yeah,
huh?
it was rough. It was rough, but here I am today. Free agency now, still about to get a chance. So,
Mm-hmm.
he's giving me hope, and that's
Mm-hmm.
all. That's all I need is a mustard seed.
Oh, for sure. Dang, appreciate you for sharing that,
Yeah,
man.
right up.
Um, okay, so let's dive into that portion. You being a newly father, right? Um, talk about what is that like from changing diapers, to juggling and hurdling, your everyday life and busyness. What has that, being a new father, what has that done to you and how has that shaped you as a man?
Man, it's changed a lot. It's changed a lot. Again, big higher up God, I believe, God and everything is for a reason. So,
Mm-hmm.
I read the Bible and I read how, mother and father is supposed to be the family dynamics
Mm-hmm.
between husband and wife and children, and,
Mm-hmm.
the pillars and where everything falls. And I feel like that's really been set in steam or, set in stone for me.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, it's I had the kid or we had a child, thank God, and everything has really just changed drastically.
Mm-hmm.
But I walk harder in my faith now. They say that the devil tries to take away the head of a household, which is
Mm-hmm.
typically the
The
man, and
man, yep.
if that falls, then everything else falls.
Mm-hmm.
So with the generations that I have coming after me that I deeply care about, and
Mm-hmm.
my beautiful girlfriend, my beautiful child, it's been serious, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's been serious, but it's nothing short, nothing that God can't carry me through. So
Mm-hmm.
it ain't too bad.
Yeah. Like you talked about like the pillars of being a man. Um, we live in a society where a lot of, you see it, I see it, like a lot of boys, a lot of young men around our age, they allow, the culture and the world to shape who they are, right? So a lot of times, you taking this walk and trying to be the man that God called you to be, there's a lot of people that you have to like distance yourself from, right? So
Mm-hmm.
talk about like the tough reality of like distancing yourself not only just from people but also from the ways of the world so that you can step into that role.
Man, it was that was a hard thing. I know you say step away, but it's almost like a detachment.
Mm,
It's hard. It's hard, but
mm-hmm,
you have to realize, and I that's what I had to realize was that the goals that I have for myself, and the goals that I have for my family and the generations after me, I can't necessarily shake or change that for
mm-hmm,
someone else.
mm-hmm,
Me and my girlfriend, we primarily take care of things on our own. So to me, that was, if nobody really helping, it
mm-hmm,
ain't.
mm-hmm,
And I wouldn't even say like if you were, even if people were helping, it's more of I think just the way that I grew up and that the mindset that has got me to this point in my career is that I didn't listen to nobody.
mm-hmm,
I didn't let anybody influence me. I didn't turn, down roads that I knew seemingly were, ended up in a dead end. So
mm-hmm,
even now, understanding what it is I want to be, like I said, in life, I have friends, you know what I'm saying, or peers that, do try to influence me to do the wrong things or,
mm-hmm,
do try to get me to go down the wrong road. And no, I'm not perfect, you know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
same time, I try to make a conscious decision to make the
Mm-hmm,
right decision.
mm-hmm,
And I think in the end, regardless, it'll pay off for my
mm-hmm,
personal goals,
mm-hmm.
and the man that I do want to be, as you
Yeah,
said.
yeah. Back to, the NFL landscape, talking about, now you're being, what, year five? You're
Yeah, going into six,
going into
going into
six.
six.
So
Yeah,
now you're considered a vet, right?
man.
Have you had time to really think about, like, the younger guys that you see coming in, maybe like taking them under your wing, or like, is that something like that is just like you initiated? Like, I'm just trying to figure out how the locker room dynamics is. Like, is it a thing to where you can kind of spot out a younger guy and you like, let me just take him under my
Yeah, it's a thin line, bro.
wing?
It's a thin line. I see a lot of younger guys, and if I feel like I'm more, I guess I would say I'm more attentive to the ones that I feel like I could see myself in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I'm picking.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more naturally,
Mm-hmm.
that I felt that way. And then, it's guys that that are more rough that I
Mm-hmm.
try to, hey, do it this way, do it that way. But
Mm-hmm.
then, sometimes it works out. Ultimately, sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, those are the ones that I sort of feel like I let down, if I'm being honest. But for the most part, it's like, even if you don't want to be a professional football player or a
Mm-hmm.
professional basketball, anything, it's I like to take the fact of, if I do take someone under my wing, it's not just from a football
Right.
perspective, it's a life perspective.
Mm-hmm.
What can you do to be a better person? What can you do to be a better man? How do
Mm-hmm.
you treat people that have done you wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Respect your elders, yes ma'am, no ma'am, vice versa. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the things that I try to, show the young guys when I
Yeah.
talk to them.
Okay, so let's talk about a little bit in depth about that. So when you're talking about like showing them, what it takes to be a man, or, just from a life standpoint, how do you keep that balance between knowing what you do for a career is obviously a lot of pressure, right? But also keeping the balance of knowing that your identity doesn't come from football. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
how do you still maintain to juggle that balance of knowing that, as ambitious as I am in football, I'm Trevis at the end of the day.
I think it's just being real with myself. Tom Brady had to stop playing football someday. He's
Mm-hmm.
not a quarterback no more. Now
Mm-hmm.
he's a analyst, or
Mm-hmm.
he's still Tom Brady though.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to realize that yeah, I can talk football all day, but at the end of the day, football isn't going to be talking about me. At the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, I am going to have to stop football. And I am going to have to be able to speak to people outside of a football education perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was just me coming to terms and realizing, that eventually the road will end. And, why not take now to start to mold myself into Trevis and not
Mm-hmm.
the football player,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure, bro. I don't have too many things left, bro. One
No.
last question that I do have for you. To a young guy that may be listening, right? You seeing all the, the backdrop stuff, and I can recall from the conversation where you spoke to the kids at Richardson, you was like, never let anybody kill your dream because it's your dream, right? What advice would you give, whether it's an athlete, whether it's a person pursuing in the business world, whatever avenue, what advice would you give them as far as, overcoming those hurdles of knowing that people are going to try to downplay your dream? Or like you said, like you were at a school where the odds weren't in your favor, right? Talk about the importance of sticking true to what God has spoken to you and also putting your hand to the plow.
Man, it was really just again cemented in faith. I
Mm-hmm.
had my faith in Jesus Christ and Lord and Savior, and I knew that if I not only believed but walked in faith, that He would get me to where I would be going. So it didn't matter what anybody else said. I heard a thing is I don't even necessarily believe haters exist.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly, it's like if somebody says, "Hey, man, Trevis, you can't do that," like. I feel like that's the universe testing me
Mm-hmm.
to see, do I believe that? If
Like a
you,
testing rather
yeah,
than,
like
yeah,
no, if I
that's a
don't,
good way to put. I never thought of it like that.
man, if you don't believe nothing
Yeah,
that nobody tell you,
yeah,
it don't matter. It
yeah.
don't matter, and that's what I started to pick up on as a young kid. As I told the kids at Richardson, it
Mm-hmm.
was plenty of times that people, didn't expect me to do what I would do. Didn't expect me to make it as far as I would make it. There's still people to this day that may think I got lucky or that I don't appreciate what they did or, just stuff like that. But at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
man, like I put in the blood, sweat, and tears.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't let anybody, discourage me as easy as it was for me to slip through the cracks. I prevented that,
Mm-hmm.
again, with God's help.
Mm-hmm.
He pointed me down the right directions. He told me when I didn't need to do things, when I needed to not say things,
Mm-hmm.
when to be obedient and listen. And
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people question that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Going to Tulsa, a lot of people assumed that I probably wouldn't be playing professional football, but
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it wasn't up to them.
Yeah.
It was up to me. I knew the work and determination that I had. I knew the vision that I had and the resilience. And at the end of the day, I just used that to fuel my fire.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Appreciate you as always, man.
Yep.
Again, just appreciate you for opening up your space to the Turn on the Lamp podcast. Y'all make sure y'all follow my boy. You
Man.
got a YouTube page. What's your
Yeah.
YouTube?
Trevis Gipson, but it's getting there. It's
Okay.
getting there.
Okay. All right. So y'all give it
3
patience.
videos. That's all I got.
Yeah. But man, I can speak for, whoever's watching this on the audience. We always appreciate your words of wisdom, man. And just again, man, just going forward throughout your journey, whether it's football, you being a new father, we're in your corner, man. And for sure, the prayer is going to continue. And I pray that Jesus keep you covered throughout your journey. Appreciate you, man.
Man, I appreciate
Yeah.
you. Much love.